Hey folks, this is Bailey from Dank Wargaming,
Hey, this is Heath the Team Table War Hawaii.
and welcome to the Path to Redemption, the Warhammer 40,000 Dark Angels podcast, where our aim is to provide Dark Angels players with the tactical and hobby skills they need in order to compete and enjoy this wonderful hobby of ours. Welcome to the sort of March, April Wombo combo episode because of the way that travel and Adepticon kind of got in the way for both Heath and I.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to kind of get to the new releases. There really weren't any this month, so we're going to kind of skip over that for this. Metawatch, we basically have 2 months worth of Metawatch, so we're going to look at some big picture things and then really dive into a couple of very unique lists that did very well, that are interesting because we haven't seen it in a long time or ever. So we're going to do that. So if you get kind of mentioned in brief and passing, congratulations to doing a good job this last 2 months, but man, there was a lot of results, so there's only so much we can do. Then Heath and I are going to talk about Adepticon and what it was like for both of us, which the answer in short is fun. There's lots of fun was had.
Yeah.
We're going to look at the hobby challenge from last month, think about one for this next coming month. We're going to check in with our community comments, and then we're going to move on. So, new releases.
Profit.
Step 3, profit.
Yeah, look, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, okay, we're good.
Yep. The Metawatch. All right, we are gonna see. I think I'm just to make sure it's all timed up. Definitely gonna try and share this. Yup.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So it's a lot. It's a lot. For the last 2 months, and we got a lot of big names that we usually see, like Jay's in here, Toby's in here, right? There are a couple people in here multiple times because they've played multiple tournaments a month. So big picture wise, what I want to look at is right here. You can see Azrael. He is basically, and he is in every single list. So if you're playing Dark Angels at a comp level, Azrael's here. Deathwing Knights, 2 to 3 of them. Whoop. That was not what I wanted. 2 or 3 of them in every list.
The ones that aren't are so the Unforgiven 2 Unforgiven, 3 Unforgiven Task Force don't have Deathwing Knights. That's a really interesting piece of data. What's that other one? This is Tim, I think.
It's a Stormlance one as well.
Stormlance, okay, all right, interesting. So
yeah,
we have let's say there's a lot to cover here, and so we really just going to try and focus on the most interesting ones. I do encourage you to please go read Gerard Chartier's excellent blog over at 40K Angels Keep, and he links on all the Facebook pages. It is fantastic analysis. We have almost entirely gone to using that as kind of our summary source instead of Goonhammer, because frankly, he's better. He does a lot more thinking about it from the Dark Angels perspective, right? So,
and he'll go into each individual list is like round by round too. So he'll give you a good breakdown on things like that. But the reason why there's no Deathwing Knights in this list, it looks like to me, is that down here these are 3 Ravenwing Command squads, 3 Ravenwing Black Knight squads, and 3 Outrider squads. So he just went all bikes,
straight bike.
So that's So that's why there's no Deathwing Knights there.
Okay.
Inner Circle Companions. Not as popular as Deathwing Knights.
Still very much so, though.
But still very popular. Like, there's still a lot of them out there. A lot of 1s, a couple 2s, or 1-2 over here. Let's see, who is that? Joe and his Stormlance, he has 2.
Okay.
Intercessors, also, and Infiltrators, the 2 of these are also very popular across the board. Jump Pack Intercessors, 1 to 2 to 3 even of those. So this also I thought was interesting. The Lieutenant with Combi Weapon is also fairly popular. Yeah. Even in lists that don't include the Lion. Like, it's just a Lieutenant with Combi Weapon.
That was going to be my question. If you're watching on YouTube, the line directly below this is the one that is the occurrence rate of Lion Dad, as Gerard likes to call him. And it's not 1-for-1. So the Combi Weapon Lieutenant does have a lot of utility with the Lion. But even if you're not planning on taking the Lion, he does do a really good job of scoring secondaries, holding backfield, And it's just a little annoying to kill because he has a built-in 5-up Feel No Pain, so you can't really just drop in and blap him. So, and then I think
and a reactive
below
move,
that,
don't forget,
the other
too.
really high occurrence rate.
Scouts.
Yeah.
Lots of scouts.
Oh, and he's got the reroll ones to wound thing is really his pick an objective and put reroll ones to wound on it is super useful. So
So if you're looking at running a Dark Angels list, you wouldn't be doing too bad if you just made a list that had Azrael, Deathwing Knights, Inner Circle Companions, Infiltrators, Intercessors, Jump Intercessors, Lieutenant with Combi Weapon, and Scouts. Just throw all that in the list, put at least one of each of those in there. Right, you can only have one Azrael, there's only one. But if you start with that as a skeleton, that seems to be not a bad idea. So
it's the kind of the best of the best, most efficient units in our codex. So,
yeah. But now
okay.
I want.
Well,
I think what we want to do, Heath, here is zoom in a little bit and take a look at some of these more really interesting ones. So, like we got Raul here. He has actually. Let me see if I can pop in here.
Okay,
Raul.
I've got him pulled up
in
Raul's
list.
Yeah,
all right,
I've got him
I
pulled
found
up
him.
in the thing here.
Yep.
So this comes
Raul
from
Valencia. He was playing
Bedford,
in a 5-round,
Texas.
52-person event in Bedford, Texas. He got 9th place, going 4-1 with Unforgiven Task Force. Right?
So I'm going to shout out the HEB. That's Bedford, Texas. That's not too far from where I grew up. That's in.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of in the Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex. So yeah, there you go.
Okay. Sweet. Awesome. So he's called his list the Iron Cage. I'm laughing because he's popped up in our Google Doc as an anonymous cormorant, and I just wasn't ready for that.
Okay.
So he's got Lion Dad, and it's got all the Navy memes because the cormorant in Master and Commander on the Far Side of the Sea, where they go to the Galapagos. So it's just as funny because you also live on an island in the Pacific, and you're a cormorant.
Sure.
And in the Navy.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Oh boy. So Iron Cage list. We've got Lion Dad as the Warlord, Azrael, Judiciar with Weapons of the First Legion, Samael, 2 squads of Intercessors, Hellblaster, 10-man squad, Incursors, Inner Circle Companions, 1 Outrider squad, 2 Scout squads, a Thunderstrike, and 2 Vindicators. Okay. So no lieutenant, interestingly. There's no lieutenant with combi weapon in this list. But it does have the lion, and
what is this list supposed to do? How does it work?
Okay. Well,
so what do you think?
Probably going to put that Judiciar in with your Inner Circle Companions, and you're going to put Azrael probably in with your Hellblaster, so you have that classic Hellblaster blob.
But that is really, really good because remember so we don't talk about Unforgiven Task Force very often. And controversial opinion, Unforgiven Task Force has really good stratagems. It just has a kind of a bad detachment rule. So there is a stratagem which lets you, for 1 CP, shoot back at the thing that shot you.
Yep.
With Hellblasters, you get to shoot with the guys that died, and then for 1 CP, everybody else gets to shoot. That doesn't suck.
No. Well, and then the enhancement Weapons of the First Legion, it is what I thought it was. It's the add 1 to attack, strength, and damage characteristics of your melee weapon, and then 2 if you're battle shocked. So you're adding 1 to 2 to all those 3 stats on a Judiciar whose sword's already pretty killy, and now he's got the potential to be super killy. That's nasty.
Yeah. So the thing you're trying to figure out there is how do I try and get more like reliability with that, and him going to like damage 3 all the time and possibly damage 4 is really crazy. So there's one of these Unforgiven Task Force lists that we're going to talk about, I think, that has a really interesting feature to it. And I don't know if this is the one, but I'm sorry, I'm jumping around here through various tabs trying to find it. So All right, how do we think this works, right? So it's got 2 intercessor squads. That's more than most people have. So incursors, what do incursors do for you? They can't forward deploy. They cannot infiltrate, but they can scout move. There's no transports, but you do have outriders. So Sam goes to the outriders, right? And they're basically there to give Samael the +1 strength, +1 damage for his already damaged 2 weapon. Double Vindicator and a Thunder Strike. So I think this is just a sheer damage output list. And so your only real close combat is the Inner Circle companions, right? Who you're probably going to set behind a wall or something to sit on an objective. And remember, they're 2 OC. And if they get battle shocked in this one, they're going to go to 1 OC. And at the beginning of every turn with Inner Circle, with Unforgiven, you could +1 OC somebody. So you battle shock them. Congrats, they're still 2 OC. Don't care.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and also, looking at the 1 CP fire discipline, it's any Astartes unit. It doesn't say infantry, and that's the one where to the end of the phase, in your shooting phase, you pick a unit that hasn't selected the fight yet, and you just give it assault heavy and ignore cover. And you have 2 Vindicators and a Thunder Strike that I would definitely use that on, because Hellblasters already have the assault keyword. You
can advance. So basically, you can advance and shoot anything you want, right? And the Thunder Strike being able to zip around and get an angle on something. And you could, and when does that get played again? Is that in the shooting phase or is that in the movement phase?
Shooting phase.
So in that case, you'll be able to move the Thunder Strike, and you'll know if it got the shooting lane it needs, and whether or not it's worth spending the CP on, right?
Yep.
So have the ability to get those big boomy vehicles out to be able to shoot and ignore cover is really nice.
Yep, and you have the fallback shoot and charge too with Intractable that applies to every unit out of this detachment. So I'm having to remind myself, because like I said, no one's used this in a while and haven't really thought about it. But it's one of those things where everyone dreams of I'm going to make this be good, and it's well, Raul's found a way, and he's just got a lot, like I said, a lot of utility and a lot of damage. I mean, having the 2 intercessor squads, in my opinion, helps a lot, because you just I've thought about this myself, of just kind of starting in an area where you can threaten 2 objectives right out the gate with them, step on them, stick him, and then move forward. And then you got scout squads that you can bounce forward and back to kind of play keep away, and your intercessors just kind of push ahead, trying to tag as many objectives as you can. And they're running in behind Samael, who's advancing and charging with his boys. Got Hellblasters with Azrael that are shooting and advancing and shooting and doing madness.
The Unbreakable Lines, it's 2 stratagem. It's 2 CP played just after an enemy unit ends a charge move, and that lets the attack targeting your unit within engagement range of that enemy basically take -1 to wound. So this is a defensive buff for anything, effectively, but really good into the Inner Circle companions, because they're going to be -1 to hit and -1 to wound. So. One of the things I think that Unforgiven Task Force has kind of always famously struggled with is advance and charge, rapid deployment of heavy infantry to the midboard has been a significant feature of Space Marine lists since the beginning of 10th edition, and this list just does not have a way to do it. So, I guess it just has to play a little more patient, but the Lion being able to run through walls definitely does not hinder that. So, and you think about it, that means someone charges the Lion, he's going to fight first and is potentially -1 to wound with that stratagem, because that's an Astartes unit, no other keyword restrictions. So
that's true. Isn't that what his old ability was too? You're just making him Old Lion at that point for 2 CP.
The Emperor's Shield was -1 to wound. So but the 2 intercessor squads and the incursors, I don't really know. The incursors giving +1 to hit is probably giving there's almost specifically to buff the Vindis or the Hellblasters. Yeah. Because +1 to hit really is going to help Hellblasters out. So
and they get +1 to wound from the Thunder Strike, depending on what the target is. So that helps too. Yeah,
and you can throw +1 wound with Thunder Strike. So, all right, what's the next one we're going to talk about?
All right, so James also had a. Hold on, why? What's this one orange? They had two. Oh yeah. So hold on. There's a. Do you want to do? All right, no, we're doing Unforgiven Task Force. We'll do those, then we're going to come back and look at this because this is the guy that ran Armiger Warglaves in his list, and so that's why that's what that orange thing is.
Interesting.
Anyway, James. So I'm going to pull in here. We're going to ping in James so we can get his deets here. James, where is he? Here he is. All right. James. So actually, I may or may not know this guy. I know the guy's on his team because he was part of Rising Tide Gaming. And he played at Adepticon, and I've done a lot of events either as a TO or played with or against Rising Tide Gaming.
Okay.
So I know a lot of those guys. They're all great guys. So I'm glad to see that there's a Dark Angels player among them because mostly they're like Drukhari and Necrons and other stuff that's not cool because it's not Dark Angels. So he went 3-1-1 at Adepticon, finished 31st out of 296 players. And this was the top list at Adepticon for Dark Angels. So he's got from the top rope, it's Lion, VL Johnson. So getting ready for WrestleMania season here, I see. I like it.
Well done, sir.
He's got the Lion, he's got Azrael, he's got Blade Guard Ancient, he's got with the Pendant of Remembrance, he's got the Judiciar with Weapons of the First Legion, Librarian, Lieutenant with Combi Weapon, Assault Intercessor Squad, Regular Intercessor Squad, 3 Impulsors. So this is where the Battle Shock comes in. I remember I also marked
this is the one I was thinking about. Yeah.
Yep. Jump Pack Intercessor Boys, big 6-man pack of Blade Guard Veterans, 6-man pack of Inner Circle Companions, and the Melta Invader, a second Melta Invader, Reaver Boys, Scout Squad, and 10 Stern Guard Vets.
Stern Guard Vets. Okay. So, here's what's unique about this list. This is the one that doesn't feature any Deathwing Knights, right? So, first of all, he's eschewing probably our best data sheet. And this is the stuff I love about 40K, because everyone thinks this is the way to do it, this is the way to do it, spam this. And then your boy comes out of nowhere and scores 31st out of almost 300 players, top of faction at one of the premier 40K events in the world, with not only a detachment that everyone considers useless, but a completely different unit mix because he's leveraging different mechanics. He's thinking about it a different way, and I am so down for it. Okay, here's what this list does. The 3 Impulsors, I think, are the key here, right? It's mechanized infantry. Why is that important? He's going to move to the middle of the board, right? And he's got, his, where'd it go? So a Blade Guard unit, right? And then he's got his Inner
Circle
Companions, right? And then he has
probably the Reavers. Or the Assault Intercessors.
You could do the Reavers, or you could do the Assault Intercessors. So the Reavers, I think, because if they all have the Scout keyword, they would give the transport the Scout keyword. So it would get a Scout 6 move at the beginning of the game. So you move forward, and then you just take an objective. They blow it up. Everyone jumps out, and now you've got more stuff on the objective, right? If they're going to charge you, right, then one, you've got, congrats, you're charging Inner Circle Companions with a Judiciar. Best of luck, mate.
Yeah.
Right? And if you decide to do that, here's the scary part. Remember what I said about finding a more reliable way to trigger Battle Shock? What are you the turn you jump out of a blown up vehicle? You are automatically Battle Shocked. So if you want to try and go clean up that Judy with those Inner Circle Companions, you're going to be facing a very, very angry Judiciar with damage 4 weapons and 8 freaking attacks at strength. My God. Right? And that's before the companions get their hands on you, right? And they're going to be hitting on 2s because they're led by a character.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and then think about it this way, right? With the Blade Guard Ancient, Pendant of Remembrance, it gives you a 6-up Feel No Pain that gets boosted to a 4-up when your Battle Shock. So you have 6 guys with, 3 wounds with shields that have rerolled their 1s to save.
That's in the fight phase,
Yeah, they have a 4-up Invuln. And then they have a 4-up Feel No Pain on top of it. So good luck moving that as well.
Yeah.
And that's,
now,
and that squad, yeah, that's got the Ancient in it. Yeah, because the Librarian. So looking at the characters here, right, you have Azrael, Blade Guard Ancient, Justiciar, Librarian. So Justiciar going with the ICCs, Blade Guard with Blade Guard. Where are we putting the Librarian, and where are we putting Azrael?
I think it's so. I think the Azrael would probably go with the Stern Guard vets because that's what makes the most sense to me. Sorry, I'm trying to look up something about impulsors real quick.
Yeah, no.
And
worries.
this is another one of those things where you can, if you need to, flex it, right? So impulsors can hold 7 models.
Correct.
So you could put the Blade Guard Ancient with the Pennant with the Blade Guard, obviously, but he cannot join another character that's with the Blade Guard.
Right.
So, like, if your Librarian or your Judy's there, you can't also attach a Blade Guard to them unless it has a Captain or a Chapter Master, like Azrael. So, I think the Blade Guard Ancient is there just to do what you said, which is let them jump out of a vehicle, and then the Ancient, the Pennant, basically, the Ancient, being an Ancient himself, it gives them +1 OC. And then the Dark Angel's special rule gives them +1 OC at the beginning of a turn if you want them to. So the turn they get blown out of a transport, they are going to be OC2 and have a 4-up Feel No Pain and a 4-up Invul. And if you want to charge them, they're going to be -1 to wound because of the stratagem we discussed. And rerolling ones
you
to
can't
save.
use the stratagem on them though because they're battle shock.
That's a good point.
That's the one.
That's a good point.
That's the one thing that kind of pulls it back. But you do have a 4-up Feel No Pain. So yeah, and then when they do unbattle shock and they go to a 6-up Feel No Pain, well now they're -1 to wound. So like that's like that helps you any better if you're going to fight them.
And they're going to be +1 attacks because of the Blade Guard ability.
Yep.
So.
Yep. So that's pretty spiky because like I could see. Because I could also see you putting Azrael potentially with your Assault Intercessor squad, so Azrael gets rerolls. Like that's like I could see him going with the Stern Guard for sustained hits, but I could also see the Librarian going in there to give them their 4-up Invuln, and then Azrael is going to get his rerolls. And then Azrael
go ahead.
It's one of those things where it's one or the other, I guess.
Yeah, you've got the options to do it either way you want. The reason why I think Azrael's not going to go with the Blade Guard is because the Ancient has to go with the Blade Guard because a Blade Guard Ancient cannot join any other type of unit. And so that would put them at 7 models to go into the transport. Right? And the whole this list whole strategy is based around blow me out of this transport, I dare you. I dare you. Because I will flood the board with like 15 OC or 18 OC that is angry as hell. So, so I think, look, man, it's clever, right? And it's different, and that is what I love. That's what I love about it.
Yep.
And you could do you can just like have the lion hiding behind a building in the middle of the board, and then if you want to run in the middle, that's fine. The lion's there. He'll just come out and do his thug thizzle. So I'm overclamped. It's beautiful. I love it. I love it so much. Thank you for bringing this moment to us.
Yes. Thank you. Good job, James. So we're gonna run over to Andreas next. So Andreas Adin was also playing Unforgiven Task Force at Fantasia Fanatic. Oh boy, 47 maybe.
XLVII. I guess that's 47. Västerbotten, Sweden. 5-round 82-player event. All right. So Andreas Aiden, Unforgiven Task Force at Fantasia Fanatic 47. All right. So he had to leave early from the same event that we're going to talk about later. But he was... so he didn't get a full completion, but he had an interesting list, and it's Unforgiven, as you said. So it's Azrael's the Warlord, a captain with weapons of the First Legion.
Ooh.
So just a Justiciar, 5 Assault Intercessors, 6 Blade Guard Vets, 6 Centurion Devastators, a squad of 3 Bolter Inceptors, 6 Inner Circle Companions, 2 Scout Squads, full 10-man Stern Guard squad, a Thunderstrike, a Vindicator, an Impulsor, and a Calidus. So once again, an interesting list. He went 3-1 with this, and then had to leave the tournament early. So there we go.
Yep. So again, you have your options of what goes with what, and then what can go in the tank, and then it goes in the tank, and it goes forward. Tank move blocks, gets itself killed, blows up, battle shocks whatever's inside it, pops out, and then you have to go deal with it. On top of the fact that you're probably lining up that Centurion Devastator squad to shoot whatever it is that's going to charge that tank on the next turn, and then you have the ability to fall back, shoot, and charge. So if you do get locked in combat when something charges you, you could just fall it back, shoot it with the Devastator Centurions, and then charge back into it and kill it on your turn. So a lot of options there. No Lion, so you're going to have to rely on your Captain and Azrael, your Intercessors, and your Blade Guard Vets to do your heavy lifting punching. You got Uppy Downy with Scouts and the Calidus Assassin.
So, that Fire Discipline stratagem, that is so good on Centurions, giving them Assault.
Oh, yeah.
And Ignore Cover, and lethal hits. It's awesome. It's really good. Unfortunately, I can't recommend anyone buy Centurions because they're almost guaranteed to get legended for the next edition. But yeah,
they are a pretty cool mini. Just wait until we get the Primaris versions of those. I mean, I know we kind of have it with the Gravis Eradicators, but it's not the same thing. Like
it's not the same thing. No,
we want like the mini BattleBot Space Marines and Centurion models. Because those are pretty cool.
Pretty
and
dope.
We want punchy ones. I want Primaris punchy ones.
Yep. So I'm sorry. What unit does the captain go with here?
I think it goes with the Blade Guard. Because remember what happened when we played at Adepticon, not this year, but last year.
Last year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Him being able to go,
pops off.
Go Finest Hour and go crazy with them, and then he gets the reroll ones to hit or save ability. Yeah,
you have the cheaper stratagem on him too.
And that's going to help you pay for the -1 to hit if you want, or sorry, the -1 to wound if you want as well.
Yep, or the fallback's a battle tactic too, right?
It doesn't. Battle tactics don't matter anymore. It's just a discounted stratagem. It doesn't have to be a free one.
Or Armor of Contempt.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Or go to ground. Yeah. So.
Or fall back, shoot, and charge. There's a lot. You're just like, this guy just gets. We're gonna stay mobile. So, no, I like that. I like this list. It's got lots. Again, it's one of these it's got a lot of little pieces, and it just kind of shows you if you want to lean more utility outside of just Lion Dad, right? There's a lot of options out there, and it's not just running.
Another thing about the Impulsor is that it gives you that basically +3 inches to your movement, which if you think about it is kind of like a mini advance. You disembark 3 inches away from within 3 inches of the vehicle. And then you do your normal move. That is effectively the same as rolling a 3 on an advance and being able to charge afterwards. So, and that's one of the things that Rob was talking about Librarius Conclave is using the Impulsors as little springboards to shoot units into combat. So,
no, yeah, it's definitely a big deal, and it messes up people's math if you're not expecting it. Because that's happened to me before with things coming out of Land Raiders and such, because they have assault, so the tank can move, then the guys can get out, and then they can move, and then they can still charge or whatever. And it's just oh, I wasn't ready for that. I should have put a screen in front of that.
What would I do? What would I run in with this instead of the Centurion Devastators? I have Assault Centurions, but I don't have Dev Sense. Man, whatever. Anyway, that's
maybe you just run a fatty squad of Eradicators, so you have that.
Yep.
That big.
You need more than that. You need a lot of them. Yeah. And the thing about the Centurion Devastators is they have such a long range, right? Because they all have las cannons on them. So
that does help. So that, like, because notice this list doesn't have a Ballistus Dreadnought, so like they've kind of filled that role. Or there's no Lancers or Repulsor Executioners that also kind of fit in that long range role that we normally think about.
Yeah, so Dev Sense are 165 for 3. So it would be
around 300.
330, 330 for a full squad. And they do they reroll ones to hit when you target something, period. And if they're on an objective, it's a full reroll to hit.
That's good.
And they're toughness 7. Good gravy.
That's a good break point. That's a good break point.
Only a 4-inch move. 2 up armor, 4 wounds. Yeah, Lord.
And that's why you advance them and give them assault.
Chonky. Oh, Lord, he coming.
Yep.
All right, what else are we talking about here?
So, there's the other thing I had kind of highlighted there. It was one Lion's Blade list.
Oh, okay. Let's take a look at that.
So we got Jamie here. He's got... Oh, hold on. Make sure I'm looking at the right list. Yep. So we got Jamie Wilkins of Chad Met going 4-1, taking 4th place out of 42 people at the Sydney GT in Australia.
Okay. Aussie.
Well, it says on BCP he went 3-2, but he still got 4th place. Either way, he won. He went over 500 with Lion's Blade. So people haven't been doing that. You get it. So the claw closes is what he calls his list. So these orange marks up here to point out he has like a regular ancient, then ancient Terminator armor with the Fulgus Magna, which is the uppy downy for Terminators, Azrael's Warlord, Captain in Terminator armor with the Stalwart Champion, which that's the OC.
That's the one that gives you +1 OC. Yeah.
Semi
when they're not battle shocked.
Yeah. Double Ballistus, double Deathwing Knight, Fatty Hellblaster Squad, Invader ATV, 6-man Outrider Squad, 2 Scouts, and a Hammer Strike. Oh, okay. So also something a little bit different. So, I mean, we've talked about this before, I think, like when the list came out, that this is something we'd see. So you have the option, I guess, of throwing all the characters into one Deathwing Knight squad, just having like a fattier squad that can bounce around and do stuff. You could put a character in each squad, and then you can have them do different things. You've got board presence with Azrael and Hellblasters. You've got board presence with Semiel and 6 bikes. So you've got the 2 Dreadnoughts. So like if you wanted to deep strike both of your Deathwing Knight units, you probably could get away with that. You've got fast burst damage in the Hammer Strike that's just run around on its own trying to pop things.
And that's the one that strips cover from anything it shoots at, which is effectively -1 AP, which definitely doesn't suck. Okay. Again, I think here this is playing OC shenanigans, right? The Ancient, which is like the weird unit, because you never see people use Ancients unless they're just trying to find a cheap unit that's going to be a backfield objective sitter.
Yeah.
That's giving you +1 OC, and don't remember what the other thing that Ancients do is. So I'm just gonna run over here and look at.
Gotcha.
What does an Ancient do? An Ancient's abilities are.
Because they used to give you.
Okay, when they were with. Okay, they add 1 to OC when this model is within range of an objective marker or 6 inches to the center of the battlefield. This model has 4 up, feel no pain. Only that model. It does not give that to the unit, right? But it is going to make that big squad of Hellblasters OC2. That's what I think he's doing with it, right? So, and
then you throw Azrael in there, so you have a 12-man squad that's OC2.
Yep, and you can give him a power weapon by replacing his bolt rifle.
That's useful.
Yeah. So, okay, power weapon.
And then you've got the. Well, then the other thing too with the Hammer Strike is that it's a Raven Wing unit and it's fast. So if you do charge with it, then you can start bringing in your Deathwing Knight guys with it. And then if you give whatever unit Azrael joins, also gains the Death Knight keyword.
Deathwing keyword, yeah.
Yep.
So,
and then with the stratagem, right? Units, if a unit, every unit targets something, and then you can target it with Deathwing, and they get +1 to wound, right? So the hammer, you don't need the Thunder Strike because the Hammer Strike just gives you plus when it does the strat, right, from Lion's Blade.
I think you might have that backwards. Let me.
Yeah,
So
you looked that up.
yeah,
But I think
no, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I think you're
I
thinking
could
of the
see
reverse.
why you wouldn't want to have the Thunder Strike if you have access to that stratagem, because the Thunder Strike is limited to monsters and vehicles. This just gives you +1 to wound against everything.
You're right. Yeah, so the Illuminating Fire, 1 CP, you target the Ravenwing unit, you select one enemy unit within 12 inches of the Ravenwing unit that was selected as target for one or more. Yes. Yeah, so you basically play a stratagem on a Ravenwing unit, and then select another unit within 12 inches of the Ravenwing unit, and then until the end of the phase, all the Deathwing get +1 to wound that thing. So it takes a little more setup, which also includes the ballistas. Yeah. And
it has ignore cover, so basically it's like an extra AP if it's something in a built-in cover. So
yeah. So the ballistas get the benefit of that. The Hellblasters get the benefit of that. That's not bad at all, man. So you've got the Deathwing Knights, which are going to be basically OC2, and then each, because the champion and the Solar Champion and the Terminator Ancient with Fulgus Magna, so they can bouncy around if they want to. So I think this one, like, you can see the tools, right, and you can see but this detachment has such a high skill floor that you need to maneuver things, at least in my opinion. Jamie might be like, oh man, no, it's super easy, just do this, but I'm not there, bro. So yeah. And I think one of the big things here, I like the choice of Samael with the 6 Outrider bikes, because they let you do the other part of this detachment's benefit, which is to be able to make desperate escape checks, right? Or sorry, you can basically fall through enemy units, right? No, I'm thinking there's an enhancement that lets you do that. Lord of the Hunt, that's the one. So that wouldn't work here because it's got Samael on it. But Samael being able to advance and charge, and then just spread all those big bikes out and maybe get into contact with multiple things, and then be able to drop the Deathwing Knights in. Them being 4 wounds each is a very important breakpoint. There's a lot of 3 damage shooting out there. There's not as much 4 damage shooting. So, yeah.
No, I like it.
All right.
Let's see here. So, there's the sort of potential last 2 pieces to kind of look at that I thought were unique, where Jay Seabrams got a list that had Armiger Warglaves in it, and then Ben had the only Company of Heroes list that had, get this, Heath, 6 Outrider squads.
I saw that one.
So where do we do you want to talk about one? Want to talk about both? Where do we want to start?
Let's go to Jay Seabrams.
All right, so we got Jay here. This is his second list, so I got to make sure I get to the right list. All right, here we go. So he's here. His list went 4 and 2 with the Gladius Task Force at Goonhammer Open. 6 rounds, 65 players. So it's Dark Angels G. He's got Azrael. He's got 2 Terminator Chaplains. He's got 2 Deathwing Knight squads with the Maces. He's got 2 Infiltrator squads. He's got 6 Inner Circle Companions. He's got 2 Predator Destructors, a Whirlwind, 2 Armiger Warglaves, and a Calidus.
The Armiger Warglaves are clearly the interesting thing.
Yep.
What role? So they're just a forward choppy shooty, because those Armiger the Warglaive Melta Spear is Melta 4 or something dumb like that.
Yeah.
which is crazy. So,
well, and like I said, they have a melee threat on top of
a
being
very, very dangerous one.
Yeah, so they kind of like you have melee, like Dark Angel Space Marines, where you have a melee threat unit, and then you have a very specifically like shooty threat unit. But to have something that does both is not as common.
So here you're basically just pushing the Deathwing Knights forward, and with the armigers on either side of them, it's just a whole lot of threat overload.
Yep.
And they got 2 chaplains with the Deathwing Knights. So they're all +1 to wound. Interesting that he's chosen the maces and with the chaplains. Normally you would see swords with the chaplains.
Yeah.
Because the +1 to wound effectively gives you the anti-vehicle monster 4+ effect, unless you're going into things like Land Raiders. So
right.
And also,
and I just wonder if
go ahead.
If that just helps the. I wonder if that's there for the Custodes matchup, because I ran into that in my tournament that I was playing at, where maces are cool until you run into T7 Custodes Terminators.
Yeah, Alaris Terminators.
Maces and swords are not as cool, I think that there just might be a lot of Custodes in his meta. And he's like, this is how I deal with Custodes: is I just give myself +1 to wound and I beat him to death anyway.
But why the maces and not the swords? If you're gonna the only time when maces are better than swords when you have the +1 to wound effect is when you're going into toughness 12 and up. So why not take the extra attack for each model that the sword gives you? I don't know. That's what. Look, it's a Vanguard guy, right? So he's smart as hell. But
yeah,
this list is boiled down to its absolute minimum, right? It's just Knights, Terminators, 2 Infiltrators, Companions, 2 Destructors, and the Whirlwind, right? And I think the Whirlwind and the Indirect Fire is a thing you may see creeping back in due to the stuff that freaking, what are they? Elves. Yeah, the Eldar. Freaking Eldar. like little squads
the ruiners of all
you know,
fun.
Yeah, being just sitting everywhere, right? So okay,
or guard. I mean, you have guard, chaos,
guard,
cultists. Like, there's definitely some things I can think of, or grots with all the orc lists, right? With I know Daka is getting reduced, but tons of grots just sitting in backfields are very annoying, and it's like if you could just kill them and make them send something else over there, it's helpful.
Yeah. Yep.
Definitely a meta play.
Okay.
So, and then we're gonna look this company heroes list, because this guy is cool because he has a ton of outriders. We like that. All right, here we go. Not Toby. Not
you
Ben.
weren't kidding.
I want Ben. All right, so company of Munters. I don't know. I feel like that's dirty. I don't feel like I should have said that.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've
Chaplain
got
on bike, Azrael. Yeah, Azrael.
Yep.
Chaplain on bike with a recon hunter, so that he gets the Scout 9. Another Chaplain on bike for Master Maneuver, which is the one that lets you reroll advance and charge, I think. And then Ravenwing Command Squad and Samael. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Characters that can attach, and then you have 5 intercessors, and then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 squads of 6 outriders.
Yep.
Then 2 squads of 3 outriders, and then a squad of 6 Black Knights, a Dark Shroud, 2 Scout squads, and a Thunderstrike. Yeah, there you go.
That
just
is
vroom vroom.
Meat.
Zoom zoom. Zoom zoom.
If you ever wanted to know what happened to all those eBay auctions of outriders, we know where they went.
Yeah, this absolute mad lad got them. So
yeah.
All right.
And again, you have more fat squads of guys than you have characters, so you have options. Like, do you need to put Samael with Black Knights? Do you need to put the Command Squad with Black Knights? Do you what weapons are you trying to buff? Do you want to put a Chaplain in there, so now all the hammers have +1 to wound? I mean, are you putting the Chaplains in with the Outriders, so now their Corvus, their Croisius is now better?
I think so if you're going into like a Space Marine matchup, the Chaplain goes much better with the Outriders, because they get the +1 to strength, gets you to strength 5, And then the +1 wound now means you're wounding Space Marines on 2s on the charge, which is great, which is really
and you're
good.
doing 2 damage minimum across
and you're
the
doing
board,
2
so you're
damage
picking
every
up
time they fail
Marine.
a save. Yeah, every time they fail a save. So, yeah. So the only thing that this list is going to struggle with is like move blocking chaff lists. I played a company hunters list when I was on vacation in Texas the week after Adepticon, and which I'll throw some pictures up of it. And my brother-in-law was playing Eldar, and he was just like, puts 5 Howling Banshees in front of me, puts 5 Scouts or Rangers in front of me, puts 5 Striking Scorpions. It's like, I was turn 4 before I made it past midboard. I did not win that game. So, anyway.
Well, and I wonder then if that's what the scouts and the smaller outrider squads are for, is that they have some things you can put out early to like push their screens back or keep them from, you can clear out a part of the board, right? Like if they deploy first and they go to the middle of the board, then you can kind of take a side of the board. And
I just realized that when you said that, I was like, oh man, if in that game, because I had 2 scout squads too, if instead of trying to deploy on objectives, I used them to make sure I had a clear room to advance my to get my bikes forward, that would have made a big difference. Because as it was, I couldn't do nothing. Because he took the opportunity, he scout deployed his striking scorpions in a line right in front of my army, and then my scout moved. I'm like, okay, I guess I can't go anywhere because he did, so.
Yep. So I think that, or then maybe like if you had, well, the infiltrators thing doesn't work on scout moves though, right? That's just deep strikes.
Does arrive from reserve. So yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. And scout rules don't have because they used to have the same thing where like you couldn't move within 9 inches of an enemy model when you scout move, but they got rid of that.
That's still a baseline effect of the scout universal special rule.
Okay, yeah. So definitely just having something in front of you keeps them. Even if you took your scouts and put them just in front of just in front of your deployment zone, even then it would create somewhat of a buffer or an inch or 2. I don't know. It just kind of depends on how aggressive they were, but it would definitely keep them in. But I could see that. Yeah. But yeah, like you don't want to just throw out. And then again, you have the one free fatty squad of bikes that doesn't have a character that, again, you can run out and use that to clear chaff or whatever's trying to slow you down and then bring out all the big boys. So
yeah, like the 2 squads of a squad of 3 bikes, it's like 80 points, right? And they just drive forward and turn, so they're toe to toe, right? And then they can take up a lot of room. So you can do your own kind of move blocking shenanigans.
Yeah, and this is definitely a stat checklist, right? Of like, do you have the ability to kill this many dudes with 4 wounds? Because there's 30 guys that are at least T5 with 4 wounds.
More than that, there's 30 outriders and then 6 black knights, and then 3 more command squads. So this list has like over 40 bikes. It's all T5. So and then the Dark Shroud's going to give it all -1 to hit and stealth and benefit of cover. So interesting list.
Yep. All right. No, I like that. Was there any other list that really jumped out to you, Heath? Or are you ready to go talk about Adepticon? No, man,
let's move. Let's talk about Adepticon.
Yeah, so congrats to everybody else, like Simon, Christopher, Conrad, friend of the show, Toby Bennett, Sam, Rodrigo. Oh, there's Christopher again. There's a second Simon. There are 2 guys, Simon, Patrick, Tim, Dakota, Evan, Joe, another Sam, and a Matt. Sorry we didn't get to your list this week, but if you go, as Heath said, to Gerard's Angels Keep and read through the blogs for the last 2 months, essentially, you can go and find all this stuff that I have color-coded here. And I don't know, maybe we should make this available to people at some point, Heath.
Yeah, might be useful
in the description. And if you can, I sometimes edit it out when I'm in post production, but I save these for every month. So like,
Mhm.
I just like there's the January one there. So
Okay, neat.
it's like so it's all there. You can go back through all the other episodes and look at this information if you're looking for trends. And this is kind of why we do it, because Gerard, he'll do stats, but he does stats like by the week. And here we're looking at things that are
Yeah,
trend across this
we're able to
way like
collate
a
the data
month.
across
Yeah.
a larger time scale. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man.
So that's that. So that was cool though. So keep playing Angels, keep making us proud. Super cool.
Keep making us spend 50 minutes on the Metawatch.
Yeah, because remember, Heath, those sad days when we're like, we don't even have. It's been a month. We don't even have a list.
There's two guys. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So Adepticon. My first time in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. My second time going to Adepticon. Overall, I had a great time. Would do again. Plan on doing again. What about you?
Yeah.
So don't let young boy plan y'all's hotel, right? You need to stay up in the city center.
Yeah.
Near where the event is.
Yeah, I had an Adepticon rookie on my squad this year, and he booked a hotel that reasonably for Adepticons in the past, like I have not stayed near the hotel, and it's not been a huge issue. Because of the way the parking was at the hotel. Then they had shuttle buses and things in Chicago and Schaumburg to bring you in. Milwaukee did not have that. Now, Milwaukee had lots of parking options. There were parking garages. There were a lot of outdoor places, and they all had variable rates, which got exciting when the AEW Collusion taping was happening across the street from the convention center on Saturday night. And the parking lot that had been $25 to $30 a night jumped to $100. To overnight.
Oh no!
So
yeah, I'm glad I didn't have to. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. So we ended up moving. Went over. It was about 20. I could do it in 15. Maybe I did it in about 20 with my wagon with my army in tow. But I ended up parking at the Great Lakes Distillery a little bit away past the Harvey Lee Davidson Museum, and because I work in the industry, and I got Heath a bottle there. That I gave that to some of my friends last night. It was very popular, so I think people are going to end up buying cases of that stuff at Adepticon next year. It's that good. But because I was talking with them, and I'm in the industry, and I bought a case, and Heath ended up with the bottle. They let me park there for free. So like, we closed the lot at midnight, just be back before midnight. And I'm like, I can do that. So I had a long walk, but it wasn't $100 to park. And I had a great time, got treated very well there. Highly recommend them. Do the tour. Great price bourbon, great tasting bourbon. They have a barrel aged gin. I haven't tried that yet. I've been sampling the beautiful bottle of Tradewind barrel age that Heath brought me from Hawaii. Mm-hmm. That's what I've been sipping on. But I mean, they have everything basically at that Great Lakes Distillery, and there's a really nice restaurant inside of it too. So highly recommend that too.
So the Tabor team stayed at the Hilton, which is connected to the convention center by a sky bridge. There's a little Starbucks downstairs. That's what we did for breakfast every day. And then there's two restaurants. There's a place called Miller Time Pub and Grill, which actually had really good food, good beer. And then they had a high-end steak chop house where we spent way too much money one night. And also had a really nice bar. So that's what the Tabor crew did. It was nice being able to just like come down the elevator, walk to go across the little sky bridge. They had security set up at the sky bridge that was varying levels of effective. Some of them were like, "Let me look at your bag." I'm like, "Boop!" And they didn't see the food I had in there, the bottle of bourbon I had in there, right? The box cutter I had in there to go break down boxes at the booth. And they're like, cool. I'm like, okay, you would not pass security where I work. And the other one, like I was walking back over from the Hyatt, which is the other hotel that Skybridged in, where we went on, I think it was Saturday night after you and I finished playing a game.
Okay.
Or was that Friday night? I don't remember. We went over there to hang out with some of the GW people. And on the way back, I had like my army, my backpack, everything. And this lady made me take everything out, open everything up. Look, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. I'm like, okay, you're doing your job. I'm not going to complain about nothing, right? In the future, I think we would probably stay at the Hyatt because it's a little more modern, and a lot of the stuff for the convention seems to be biased towards that side of the convention center, the northeast side. That's the side the Golden Demon was on. So yeah, the Hilton.
I know which bridge you're talking about now.
The Hilton was undergoing renovations at the time. They had like 6 floors closed, right? And our hotel room had basically no furniture. It was just 2 beds and like one nightstand. There's no desk because they were like, yeah, sorry, the shipment of the new stuff got stuck. And I was like, okay. All right. Anyway, hopefully it'll be sorted out next time. But yeah, I mean,
that was definitely for me the biggest change to the Adepticon, because in the past my Adepticon experiences have been like people are just bringing in cases and people are drinking, and like no, they like the first night I almost froze to death because I was like, oh, I'll just bring my wagon in with all the goodies I brought from work for people, for you and Joe and some of the other people. And when I saw what they were doing at the front door, I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna have to go around in the dark to all these hotels I don't know where they are yet and just deliver things to the front desk because I can't bring this in the convention center.
The booze fairy, yeah. So Bailey, like a booze fairy, went to our hotel and left like literally a case of alcohol with the bellhop for us and texted me a picture of the claim check. Anyway, whatever. So
we made it work. We adapted and we survived and we overcame.
We did.
We did the thing. So
so
that was different, but at the same time it wasn't so bad because like, not that I've ever seen people like stupid, like sloppy drunk at Adepticon. I've heard stories of people being that way, and I just didn't seem like that was a thing because you had to buy everything on site, and the prices weren't great. You know, I bought like Lining Kugel had some sort of like canned old fashioned, like whiskey old fashioned, and it was like it was good. It was worth. I mean, I ended up only buying one, but I was like, that was money kind of well spent for what I got. Actually, I think I ended up buying 2 of those. It was that good.
$15 for a pint can of Blue Moon, which is I was
it's a little
unhappy
expensive.
about. But anyway,
but the food vendors were also good because I ate the Filipino place one day and that was like $15, but it was a lot of food and it was tasty. So I did like that. I liked, and then where we were, like, think about this. He's like, you remember in Schaumburg, like, where did you go to like do anything? Like, we
just stayed in the hotel the whole time. Yeah. Cause there was nowhere to go. So, but no, we went out in the town. Like there was a nice little sandwich place down the way. We went to a old German beer hall, right?
Yeah.
That was really nice. Had really good food, really good beer. We went to a Italian place on our last night there. Anyway, lots of really good stuff to do in the area, and it's very, very varied. I had the event had a lot more space just for everything, and it was a lot easier to find everything. Like I did several hobby classes, and they were all super easy to find. So there were some growing pains. Like apparently they didn't realize that telling people they could do airbrush classes meant they're going to have bottles of compressed gas in the room, and so the convention center was like, "You can't have bottles of compressed gas." And so they went over to the Hilton, and Hilton's like, "Wait, you can't do that here either." And but they got it all sorted out. There was just it was a huge venue. I think they said they went from 300,000 square feet at Schaumburg to like over 700,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Cause there's an entire another, like the main convention hall, is like A through E, and we didn't use E. Like, there's a whole, and they're gonna make the vendor area even bigger next year. It was huge. It was great. Really good time. So
and I mean, and one of my favorite experiences was I got to go to Two Thin Coats and spend 10-15 minutes talking about historical reenacting with the one and only Duncan Rhodes. That was pretty cool, and talked to him about the time about 10 years ago where he was leaving Games Workshop leaving Adepticon with the Games Workshop crew on the same flight to London that I was on to go to Warhammer World. And I was like, "Hey man, I took your recommendations. I did Warhammer World. It's been 10 years. You probably don't remember me, but I remember that because I was reading your article in White Dwarf and I looked over the magazine because I heard English voices and there you were. And I was like, this is a 1 in a million lifetime thing." So that was
very
a long
interesting
time ago.
So we managed to do open gaming on. Okay, so what I did, so I spent a good portion of time working the table board booth because that's the the deal we have with them. On the second day, I think so on Friday. Yeah, Friday.
It was either Friday or Saturday we played.
Well, not I think it was Saturday. This other thing. So the 40K what is that
narrative?
God dang it! The independent characters were doing a 40K narrative event, which we had tried to sign up for, but we couldn't get into. But apparently they had some flex room. One of the other table work guys got to play as a ringer, so basically just an op four, opposing force for those without the military parlance. He just came in, they handed him a mission sheet, and said, "Go crazy, do your thing," right? And he got to kill a bunch of stuff, lost the game. That's fine. And they said, "Hey," so and I decided to do the same thing the next game. So I got to play against a game against a guy who was French. He wasn't from France. Well, I think he was originally from France, but he lived in Baltimore, I think he said. Okay. Super cool dude, super nice looking army. He was playing Imperial fists that were painted as salamanders using the Vanguard detachment, using the Raven Guard detachment. And it was at 1,500 points. And I decided, okay, I'm going to cut down this 2,000 point. What's the thing that I'm going to have the most fun playing? And it's going to be the least frustrating for someone that's in a 40K narrative. It's just going to be my Ravenwing bike list. So how do I cut this down to 1,500 points? Is I just cut everything that wasn't a bike out of it. So it was basically literally 3 squads of Black Knights, 3 6-man Black Knight squads, 3 command squads, like an Outrider squad with Samael, and like a Hammer Strike, and that was it. No scoring ability, right? Just I'm gonna come at you and go vroom vroom and just wreck house. I'm not, because look, I'm not here to win this game. I'm here to, like, what I'm gonna get out of this is learning how to play and maneuver this list around, right? And at the end of the game, my opponent was he had 1 5-man intercessor squad left. That was it. And won the game by like 15 points because there were some secret missions in play. Like the TO would walk, effectively the TO, right? The game master, I guess you will for narrative, walked around halfway through the game and just handed you a slip of paper and said, "Do this." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then you had to like do things to, the secondaries were worth 3d3 points every action. It was crazy. But yeah, turns out that what's his name, that Terminator character for the Imperial Fists, he's real good. Lysander.
Yeah, Lysander's good.
He's real good. He's real good. He's
named after a Spartan.
Yeah, so he gives the squad like a 6-up feel no pain, and he gives them if your strength is higher than their toughness, -1 to wound.
Yeah, that's good.
And so I was like, it took some doing to chew through that, right? I scouted up, shot up, and then just did the Company Hunters +1 to wound thing, shot into that unit, and it took 2 or 3 rounds of that to actually kill this freaking a brick of 10 assault Terminators. Yeah. Anyway, it was no, they weren't assault Terminators. They were regular Terminators. They had Stormbolters. Yeah. Anyway, so it was a fun game, super cool opponent, really good looking board, low stress. So and then that was the first game I played.
Noticed. What I was going to say with the board is to point out, because it was a narrative, it wasn't the open terrain, and there was a lot of big, tall terrain. And kind of what I got out of when I walked up kind of at the end of your game is that, like, you had a scenario where all of his stuff was up on like the 3rd floor of buildings.
My bikes can't do that, yeah.
Right, and you're like, if you killed all the bikes around Samael, then Samael could fly up there and fight you. But because he's still part of this squad, he can't fly up there and fight you. So the guy's like, "So I'm just not going to shoot you then." And you're like, "Yeah, I guess you're not going to shoot me."
And so we had like a Phobos captain up there, and it was some scouts. I killed all the scouts and everything, but it was anyway. Those bikes, that bike list is the bike list is fun to play when you get when you get loose and just start driving everywhere. right? And he didn't have a whole lot of tools to deal with it, but he was able to just drop in and do actions and outpoint me, which is exactly what I wanted to happen. I don't want to come in there as a ringer and beat somebody in the 40K narrative. I just wanted to zoom my bikes around and give them a good game, and that's what it was. So then you and I got to play on Saturday night, I think.
Yeah.
Because and we went over to the open gaming tables, which are once again on the ground floor on the northeast side of the convention center. And they had some interesting terrain. I think I have some pictures I could pull up. If I could
and I felt like there were more, because I remember in Schaumburg they had space, but it always seemed to be full no matter what time of day, and we were able to just walk up and grab a table, which and we had a choice of tables too. Yeah. So, I guess that's fair too. But I felt like there was more space than what there's been in the past. And what was cool is that when I did kind of a walk around on Friday, there's like a second level that you can come out and look and just watch everybody play. So it was kind of cool to stand up there and just kind of watch all the open game and table games at once, because they don't have sort of that like Imperial look down upon all your minions space in the main gaming hall, so you can't really see. But you can there, so that's pretty cool. All right, here we go.
Anyway, so this is Bailey and I. Mats. Yeah, we got to sit down and do this action. So I played a Librarius Conclave, and Bailey played his Stormlance. This is the first time I think I'd ever played the Librarius Conclave, and I like it. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. Right? It ends up with a very, very, very narrow victory in my favor. Man, that Stern Guard unit with the Librarian with Fusillade is crazy. Holy crap. It just points and clicks and picks up vehicles and monsters. I don't even care what you're doing. It's like generates 15 to 20 mortal wounds a turn at 24 inches. No issues at all. Yeah. I did the same thing against my brother-in-law in Texas. It's like they looked at a wave serpent, and just the heavy bolters did like 10 mortal wounds. It's anyway, so whoop, wrong one, wrong button. Back.
Oh well, we got it. Nope.
Yep. There's the lion in combat with a bunch of my Terminators. There was some guy with a mant was
wandering around checking on us
with a mant on his head. Anyway,
that was pretty cool.
Yeah, this was a good game. I learned a lot about it. Then I went down and looked at the Golden Demons. Won't spare you all that, but there you go.
I mean, it was crazy. I mean, it literally came down to, if I remember correct, going into your turn 5, I had just kind of been on my... I kind of knew the game was close, if not your win, like going at the end of 4, so I just kind of started playing around with all the things like, okay, he's going to be able to do this, this, and this, and the score is going to be... And it popped up, and I looked at it, and I went, oh, I'm actually winning. And then
you're actually
like, I'm going to do this. Yeah. And Heath's like, I'm going to do this and then maybe do this and the secondary. And then I think I might win. And I was like looking at the math and I'm like, he's going to lose by 2 points if he does that, like potentially. And I was like, Heath, don't do that. Just go kill those guys. Because it was whatever the kill 1, hold 1, kill more, hold more. And I was like, just go kill those guys, kill more. And you win by 3. And he's like, oh.
Yeah, I'm going to do that then. So,
yep. And so 75, 72 is what I remember I put in the notes. I'm sure I can pull.
That's what I think that's about. I think that's about what it was. So once again, it could have champ goes to the Librarian in my Blade Guard squad. No, it was Ezekiel who turned around and did the anti-character, his mind wipe, 12-inch shot. It's one shot, anti-character, devastating wounds 4+, and did D6, did 4 mortal wounds to the lion. Just bow.
Yeah.
And this is what enabled me to kill him. Yeah.
But
so
it's been a little bit since I don't remember all the details. I just remember I kind of moved up early. You kind of came out, you let me come get you, and then it's just kind of you kind of slowly pushed me back and took over the board. And
I misplayed my scouts because the idea generally
that's what it was.
The idea generally is if when you're playing a fast melee army, you want to put the scouts to move block them and prevent them from getting out into the middle. And then I did that. I was like, wait, hold on. I'm also playing a melee army. But this means that, because normally I want to do that so I can shoot you. What I want to do is I want you to have to commit forward so I can counterpunch you with my charge. And that was what I did wrong. Right. And that took it. Anyway.
Yeah, I got a bunch of primary basically the first or the second turn because I just ate up
outscored
these
the
two scout squads.
crap out of me on primary because I just let them run in and eat them in the still in the primary while I had to grind that back out. So anyway, good time.
It was good. It was great. It's
Adepticon haul. I didn't get a whole lot. I bought like basically one box of monument paints, and then like a couple other some AK Interactive and some spray gunner paints and a bunch of oil brush things. I'm just like, this was from Spray Gunner. Basically, they're like little oil brushes. They're like paint pens with oil paints.
Okay,
So the idea is to be able to like do a little bit of weathering. I was trying to find a way to do. I want that like white oil pin wash, right? A really strong, bright white that flows like an oil wash. So I can do like, librarian runes and things that are inset and stuff. And no one really seemed to have something like that, which I was very surprised by. But yeah. Other than that, I had to bring 2 of the big tableware cases back home with me to do some repairs on them, and it was like. So I suddenly find myself with 3 check bags trying. I have to go to Texas in the meantime and then back home. And that was a huge pain in the butt, just moving everything around. But we got it all done. So
that's cool though. I mean,
anyway,
my haul was I got some stuff from Tableware Hawaii so I can practice for War on the Shore. I guess the other kind of fun story, again talking about War on the Shore, was that the raffle for the yurt stay.
Yeah,
I convinced my buddy Chris that I podcast with. We're now doing a podcast called "If You Want to Win That Way," which is a famous catchphrase of our Eldar play in our gaming group, where like we go to do something, he's like, I'm like, okay, if I do this, and he's like, well, if you want to win that way, and it's just like, and it's just like you just laugh every time he says it. So that's what we're doing the podcast with, because Chris says it all the time now too. And his wife had heard me talk to him about Hawaii, and she's like, I want to go to Hawaii. He's like, I don't even play Warhammer anymore, and she's like, but I want to go to Hawaii. So he had to so he had to go to Adepticon, buy a new army. He's going to play Blood Angels. He's been sending me pictures. He's trying to do a mini a day between now and January to get him in.
Mm-hmm.
And so while we're there, I'm like, well, since it's you and the wife, you probably want some privacy. You should probably, throw $20 at the yurt exclusive stay at War on the Shore. And I don't quite know how it is. It was just phone numbers in there, right? You just wrote your phone number down?
So what we were doing was like, you basically write your phone number down on a list, right? And then that list was serialized. So like if it's a number like 121 or whatever, and you bought X dollars worth of tickets, we would write 121 on the back of all the tickets and put them in the auction thing to draw them. So that's what happened. Okay. And your boy Chris won the yurt. So which seems suspicious because I was the one that was pulling. But I swear to God, right? I had no idea.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's what made it fair, is that like it was just a phone number, and you've only met Chris a couple times, so like you didn't know. But like Chris sent me the text.
There wasn't even a phone number on the back of it. It was literally just I reached in there and did this and pulled out. Oh, this is the number. Here you go. Here you go, Todd. And he stapled in and he texted the guy. So there you go. It's crazy.
So it's funny.
Crazy.
So it all worked out.
Truth is stranger than fiction sometimes.
Yep. Well, and to be fair to Chris, he was like, I don't think everyone, because there was some other stuff up for raffle too. Like, was there a case? There was like an airbrush, and then there was this thing.
There was an airbrush, and then there was a fancy airbrush, and then there was the power washer diorama from last year's Golden Demon. We were auctioning.
Oh yeah, that Amory did. Oh yeah, that thing's cool.
That Amory did. So we auctioned that off, and I don't remember who won it, but I'm sure it's got pride of place somewhere.
So there's definitely some items that seemed more popular because people didn't want to have to commit the time to Hawaii in January, which I don't know why you wouldn't want to be in Hawaii in January after what I went through this last January in Indiana. So he was like, "Yeah, I'm just going to throw them all in there and see what happens." And
Yep.
you get to go to Hawaii now, Chris. You get to.
Yep.
It's a privilege. So that was kind of cool. So yeah, I got the Hawaii, I got the mat, I got the terrain template things that we used at the tournament that a lot of people were using at Adepticon. They had a lot of your guys' stuff there. I was there. I didn't play any 40K outside of playing with Heath. I was in the Mantic room playing their firefight game, which is like their 40K equivalent game. Because that's kind of his jam now. So he had me go, well, I got inspired enough to go buy a box. So you'll also see on this channel, it's not just going to be this podcast anymore. I'm doing like a Road to Adepticon 2026 thing for that game where I'm like going to slow build this army and do all this crazy stuff. So just keep watching this space. So if you're here for Dark Angels and you start seeing all this stuff that's not Dark Angels, we are still doing this. It's still going to happen. I am going to be doing a Dark Angels stuff and a countdown for War on the Shore. So there will be more Dark Angels content outside of this. There's just going to be a lot of other stuff with all the other little parallel projects I'm running just because I got back from Adepticon and Chris and I were both just sort of super pumped on like, we just need to make more content. Like just find more time in our lives to do it because it's fun and we just need to get it out to the world. So, and outside of that, I don't think I got anything other than a lot of alcohol at that Great Lakes place. I spent too much.
Easy when you're driving home with it. So easy when you're driving home with it.
But for real, next time Adepticon thing.
Try and get either the Hilton or the Hyatt. It was nice. It's a good experience when you don't have to go outside to go to Adepticon. Yeah. You can just walk in t-shirt and shorts and slippers, which I did.
Yeah.
So.
But the weather was really good one day. I think it was Friday. And so I went out for a walk down the river walk, and then I figured out a path, which is how I found the distillery, of like I could walk 10 minutes to a different brewery and have a pint or have like a 4-ouncer or a 6-ouncer and then just go to another one. And then I even found one that was like baseball themed, and you walked in and had a signed Hank Aaron shirt from when he played in Milwaukee on the wall. And then they had an indoor wiffle bat stadium where you could go have some pints and play wiffle bat with your buddies. So like that was pretty cool find. That'd be fun to like do with the boys.
Sounds cool. Yeah, that sounds neat.
So yeah, highly recommend.
We'll make more plans for next Adepticon when we get there.
Yep, I highly recommend the Milwaukee experience along with all the other fun Adepticon stuff. I was very impressed. At first, like with the changing with like the bag checking and stuff, at first I was kind of negative. I'm like, I don't like this. This isn't Adepticon. This is killing the spirit, the vibe. But basically what it came down to me is like, if I want to drink, all I have to do is walk outside, walk 2 feet and walk into whatever bar.
You can do plenty of drinking. You can do plenty of drinking.
Yeah, so I don't have to worry about that. You know, it was more about seeing all the people because like Adam Camilleri was there, friend of the show, live shoutcasting. Didn't get a lot of chance to talk to him because he was always working. Very busy man, but I did get a couple fist bumps and talk about what we were doing, and didn't get a chance to talk old world with him because I know that's his baby, but I did. But you know, just kind of walked around, saw people, had a good time. It was great.
All right, we'll move on.
Yep, hobby challenge. So
hobby challenge.
The last full episode we had Aaron Wish on, that another Hawaiian table war guy, long time Ravenwing guy. So we were supposed to do Ravenwing stuff. So it doesn't look done, but it's because I didn't glue all the pieces in. But I did both the Melta option and the assault cannon or the heavy onslaught option.
Nice.
On my Invader ATV, and I got to the end and then I realized on the shoulder pads I needed to like do all the logos, and I was just so tired of painting on this model that I actually did transfers, which I just did a bunch of transfers on some Roman heavy cavalry over here, and they don't look nearly as good as these, and it was terrible the way I had to cut them out. So like I'm glad I did this first because I would have been very upset with these. I can't make transfers work. I need to take a transfers class at Adepticon, Heath, to make it work for me. But that's what I did. I see I got your favorite piece on the side.
Oh, yep. The dangly banner. I love the dangly banner.
Yep.
So I don't remember exactly how much stuff I finished, but what I did do, I can show you right here, to finish my full 27 bike list. Some of that I was able to convert by cutting the fronts off the bolters and then replacing the fronts with the ends of little plasma pistol bits.
That's what I did. It's a great way to do it.
So that's how it. Yeah, and then obviously you just the Ravenwing command squad comes with a whole bunch of extra Corvus hammers, so that was super easy to do. Anyway, so that worked out pretty well. So I was able to run that whole thing.
Another place to get hammers is, especially now with the old world being back, if you have a buddy that's playing Empire, the baseline Empire Knights box has a bunch of different hammers that you can cut out of hands or just come loose that you can attach to the side of your bikes, which is what I also did too. So if you don't have the extra pieces, which is true, like I have those, but previously I didn't, and so I raided my dad's Empire Bits box for hammers.
So I also finished a couple librarians because I wanted to try and play the librarian list, the conclave. So I've had this model sitting around. I did it in literally like 2 hours.
Oh, nice. Love it.
So just was able to get some DA bits converted in there a little bit. I actually really liked the pose. I thought it was pretty dope. And then I had an extra Terminator librarian sitting around, and I did him up with the Dark Angel sword and Stormbolter from the Dark Angel's Terminator upgrade sprue. So that is pretty much what it did.
Dang.
Right now, what I'm working on...
You jumped ahead because I was going to suggest
right
librarian, because I've got a Terminator librarian I need to paint in my hand because we did Librarius this last month with...
Go right. Yeah,
okay,
go ahead.
I'll do that then because we had Rob on and then you playing Librarius.
Yeah. So I'm right now I'm working on more Inner Circle companions.
Me too. Yeah.
So, and I just did this guy yesterday, and pretty happy with it. And then I'm also working on converting some of the Black Templar Sword Brethren into Inner Circle companions.
Nice. So that one guy you just had with the lantern, can you bring him back up? The Inner Circle guy with the lamp.
Where'd you go, brother? There he is.
Aladdin lamp. So, I got mine right here. I guess I can pull mine up. Yeah, so what I heard somewhere, somebody was talking about there's just like this loss, like there're just no Judiciars. Like people can't get them right now. And so one of the things that I'm wondering, in the Ward on the Shore hype video is taking that, getting a box of Inner Circle companions, which is a little more widely available, getting that guy, and then just going through all the random bits of skull helmets. Like I think I have a skull helmet from my asthma die that I never used that I could plop on there, and then basically, find a good sword and then just make this guy into a Judiciar. So what do you think, Heath, about trying to do like some like conversion things on hard to find minis like that of like doing a Judiciar? You think that'd be pretty cool? Any suggestions you would have on that I could...
I'm for how to do the Judiciar?
Yeah, using that guy with the lamp. I mean, it's black armor, big sword, lantern, skull helmet, right? Like Reaper helmet.
Honestly, if you have a Cypher model around, I think Cypher could low key be a really good model for that, because you could do the conversion where you've got a sword behind his head. Yeah. Now you'd have to obviously. So when I did my Cypher conversion, I dremeled and had to grind off because his cloak comes with half of the lion sword already on it, and the backpack's the rest of it. I was able to grind off the bottom of it so it looks smooth. And then use some regular arm bits. But would you then, because that might not work, because in that model the left arm is reaching for a holstered pistol, but it's such a cool dynamic model. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
you might be able to do something like that, where like his right arm is if his right arm is holding the lantern out, and he's reaching for a pistol, and you have like a sword stuck in the ground in front of him or something.
Well, I have some of those. Yeah, those exist.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll think about it.
Or just leave the sword on his. Yeah, the sword. Or honestly, I love this little bit. Where'd it go? Anyway, it's the bit that goes with this guy. The companion that has this thing. It is a holstered sword that has the leather, straps that attaches to the backpack.
Oh, yeah,
That would be
yeah,
a really
yeah.
good way to do that. Yeah, that would be a really cool Justiciar if he's holding out a lantern or like the Tempor Mortis. And if it's the Cipher model, you do a little bit of cleanup and conversion. That would be dope. That would be really cool.
Yeah, no, you're right. I
I
like
might try and
that.
do that now.
All
I think I
right,
have an
so
extra
we'll
Cipher.
see.
Anyway,
Yeah, now
yeah.
we'll see what we can do with that because it popped up in some discussion about like hard to find minis and using third party models and things like that, and it's just like, well, one of my favorite things that's been a big hit on my blogs and my YouTube channel in the past is how do I just scratch build these things. So same thing with Invader ATVs.
Yeah.
I have an idea how to do that with something from Necromunda that I'd want to try. Although ATVs are back in stock, I still want to spice things up. So we're down with Librarius Terminator on my end. You're working on
Like Sword Brethren,
Sword Brethren.
conversions to
That's
Inner
right,
Circle companions.
and we'll roll with that. So community comments. We're going to pop in here. We have Cyclops Sighted saying, I'm playing Librarius Conclave list in a crusade and enjoying it. And this is one of the very few recent videos on the detachment. Nice to see some other perspectives on it. When otherwise in competitive play, it has been extremely low play rate and win rate. I do think it is nice for crusade when you have all the progress and upgrades over time for the librarians and the units that are being led by them. So,
cool. Yeah,
I hear a lot of talk about crusade.
Yeah, and I like the Crusade concept. I just don't have a whole lot of time to play it. I would counter, like, it has gotten, it won best at Adept at LVO, right, with the Dark Angels Librarius Conclave. So, yeah, right, Gerard had says he has similar thoughts to us on the Librarius list, but he's making his with the idea of Eldarian orcs being current menaces. So he's trying to give Desolators a try again.
Yeah.
And we him and I had a conversation about this. Now that Mordaka is kind of nerfed into the ground, I do agree though that like the ability to hit things from out of line of sight, this detachment may be good at that because you can just have a librarian attached to Desolators and go reroll ones to hit and wound, and off you go. So,
well, and again, Desolators aren't going to be trash forever because remember, like nobody wanted them when they came out because they thought they were dumb. Then we figured out 30 of them was game breaking, so then everybody had to have 30. Then they got nerfed into the ground. Everybody got rid of them, and they've stayed kind of nerfed since then.
Then they got nerfed into the ground again. Yeah, they're due for resurgence.
But that just means they're easy to get, and there's a lot of painted ones out there, and you get some collected, and then they could potentially be the new Outriders, right? Because nobody wanted Outriders forever, and then they get that one good update, and suddenly everybody wants Outriders, and now you can't get them; they're out of stock online.
Sudden they're viable.
So maybe, So maybe Desolators are a thing. Start collecting them up a little bit, and I don't have any secret knowledge, right? It's not like the Adepticon last year where Mike Brandt handed me Inner Circle Companions, and I was like, thanks, Mike. That's the new Dark Angels I wanted. And then 6 months later, everybody was running like 18 of them. But again, that was just him being nice and just grabbing the first box of new Dark Angels that he found and giving it to me because I couldn't find them. So there's none of that magic this year. He wasn't even there. So he was on his, he and his wife were having a 10th anniversary vacation. Well deserved because he works hard and he works very hard at cons. So good for him. I look forward to work with him again at Adepticon or a Gen Con. But anyway, try and get some Desolators. They're out there. You can get them. They're available.
I've still got the 10, and I occasionally break them out. I had some thoughts about using them in some Unforgiven lists because you can put them into the Impulsor and then shoot out the top, and it all counts as coming from one vehicle, so the one stratagem works on it. Anyway. That's enough about that.
Cool.
So, Alan says he's talked about he's tried to play it once, but struggled Librarius, but has struggled to protect his Stern Guard. Doesn't take a whole lot of shooting to pick him up, and that is definitely true. So you need to use the rest of the units to make them an issue, right?
Yeah.
So once again, it's a high skill floor list, I think.
And just no room points wise to throw like an apothecary in there to try and bring them back or any of that.
No, because you can't join the apothecary to a unit with a librarian. It has to go into a unit with a captain, lieutenant, with an officer, right? So
Okay,
anyway,
that makes sense.
Yeah. So, and he also points out that the discussion I had about the Custodes, mortal wound bike ability was my opponent misplayed me, and well, that's good because otherwise that's a terrifying thing. If you want to know more about it, go listen to the last episode.
Yep.
But it's not a thing to worry about because apparently that's not how it works. So,
hey,
good on
beautiful.
us all. We should probably wrap this up
go.
before my internet crashes again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, all right. So, thank you all for listening to this month's episode of the Path to Redemption, the Warhammer 40,000 Dark Angels podcast. Our next episode will come out in the next month. So please subscribe, like, and comment below so you don't miss that. If you're watching us on YouTube or listening to us on your preferred podcasting service. Last but not least, we'd like to thank Purple Planet for the use of their music. And until next time, I'm Bailey from Dank Wargaming.
And this is Heath with Team Table Hawaii.
Stay loyal, Angels.